just enjoying the last bit of summer, getting to meet my friends, my loved ones.
Soaking up every last bit of the season, the final long weekend of the summer is here.
Tonight, the mad dash out of town and the flurry of activities here at home. How people are savoring every last moment. Good evening. September is here, and you know what that means.
School is just around the corner. The end of summer vacation signaling a significant transition for so many. But there is still a whole lot of long weekend ahead of us. CTV's Beth McDonnell has joined us live now with a look at how people are making the most of it, Beth.
Michelle, here at the CNE, I would say people are making the most of it by having as much fun as possible, going on rides, playing games, and having tasty treats as the countdown to regular routine is on. For many, it's the last hurrah, a trip to the Canadian National Exhibition on the last unofficial weekend of summer, a time teetering on the inevitable shift.
I'm mostly scared about school because I'm going to a new one.
So for now, Jordan, the 11-year-old waving there on the Ferris wheel, and just about every other kid here, this day is about fun.
Thank you. Have a good day at the CNE.
Working at the Midway, Rose Macias Valdez is already feeling the tinge of summer gone by.
I feel very sad because I really enjoying this job, but I love the summer, so I feel a little bit sad.
Keeping up with the summer spirit, front and center is Busker Fest. Raising money for Epilepsy Toronto, there are more than 100 acts from all over the world.
The charming Jay from South Korea, he's an incredible magician, not to be missed. So it's a way to bring the community together, to enjoy and have a great time, but also support a great cause.
Ontario's highways are humming with family and friends heading up to the cabin, the cottage, whatever you call it, that magical place is calling.
Watch out for those motorcycles, those vulnerable road users. If you're on the highways, the side roads, or the municipal streets, watch out for pedestrians. People are going to be out enjoying the fresh air.
The sights and sounds of speeding jets are filling the sky Saturday, Sunday, and Monday over Toronto's waterfront with the Canadian International Air Show. With so much to do down below, refueling will certainly be on order.
I have the blueberry chicken with Krispy Kreme and blueberry sauce.
Eating up the unusual at the CNE is a big part of the tradition, making the most of what's left of the season.
I'm honestly just enjoying the last bit of summer, getting to meet my friends, my loved ones, and just having everyone just to vibe out is the best thing ever.
Before school and schedules replace that summer feeling. The CNE is expecting big crowds over the weekend, and if coming down here isn't your thing, there's also live music in Trillium Park at Ontario Place and a hot and spicy India festival at Harbourfront. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Back to Michelle and Nathan.
All right, thank you, Beth. And we'll have more on what to expect at the air show and the performers preparing for Busker Fest later in the newscast. And for a look at what's open and closed this long weekend, head to our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca. And still ahead tonight, the effort to curb dangerous stunt driving, from a social media street racing arrest in York Region to an effort to stop an illegal car rally in Wasaga Beach. That story coming up.
But first, another live look outside tonight. How about that? We're flying high over Canada's Wonderland. What a great place to cool off in the heat. And in case we needed a reminder, there is still summer left. It is going to be a sizzling long weekend in September. Jessica Smith is at Busker Fest tonight with a look at the current conditions. Jessica.
It has been the perfect way to start the long weekend if you're coming down to Busker Fest, whether you're going to the CNE. The forecast has been great today, but it gets really hot into the weekend. Taking a look at our satellite radar picture, there's not a lot going on, and even with our temperatures, it's relatively comfortable as we head through the evening. But if you're going for a walk tonight, we don't lose any of that warmth, so bring some water with you. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. Michelle, Nathan?
Thanks, Jess. Well, as Beth mentioned earlier, the long weekend brings with it concerns about dangerous and reckless activities on our roads.
From speeding to stunt driving, police will be out to curb the problem, including sharing one recent arrest involving street racing on social media. CTV's John Woodward joins us live with all the details. John.
Nathan, it started with some videos of some dangerous driving and street racing posted on social media. It ended with an arrest, and then police made a video of their own. This is some of what the young driver posted, racing videos of a fast blue BMW. Along with vanity plates Will Run and Smurfy, police say he also taunted them.
The investigators saw what was taking place and they thought that the driving behavior was pretty outrageous. Additionally, the attitude by the person who was posting these social media videos was very belligerent. There was a lot of bragging about evading police and boasting about getting away with it. And what we saw was just an all-around appalling situation and a blatant disregard for road safety.
Investigators at York Regional Police saw the videos and kicked into gear. And a digital chase began using clues from the videos. Soon officers got a warrant for the young man's home and found those very plates.
They were able to identify the person who posted the videos as a 22-year-old man from Aurora. And as a result of this, they were able to execute a search warrant at that person's address on August the 16th. And they were then able to obtain some evidence in the form of some fake license plates that the person had been using, affixing to the rear of their vehicle, as well as some electronic devices that we believe has evidence on it.
That blue BMW impounded. The driver has a 30-day license suspension and he's facing criminal charges. Those charges, dangerous driving ×3, and much of that video you saw was a video put on TikTok by the York Regional Police that's getting some rave reviews online, including a comment saying, "This is the most savage video I've seen in a long time." So the police message would be don't drive dangerously. I would also add, if you drive dangerously, definitely don't post a video of it. Reporting live, I'm John Woodward. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, John. Police and town officials in Wasaga Beach are hoping to put the brakes on an unsanctioned car rally. There's a visible OPP presence in the beach town as the long weekend begins. Wasaga Beach obtained a court injunction against a possible car rally in response to illegal events in the past few years. Those rallies led to street racing and resulted in property damage and hundreds of charges being laid.
Still to come tonight, Canada's economy shrinks unexpectedly. Why that might be good news for consumers.
To Queen's Park tonight, where it's been a tumultuous few weeks for the Ford government.
Dogged by a growing Greenbelt controversy, red flags raised in an Auditor General's report last month, followed by allegations of ethics violations just a couple of days ago. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with a look at what lies ahead, Siobhan.
Well, Michelle, finally today, some quiet after that bombshell report from the Integrity Commissioner that found that Steve Clark put his head in the sand through the process of pulling lands out of the Greenbelt. The government kind of hopes you'll forget about that by the other side of the long weekend, but the opposition is vowing to keep up the pressure. On the edge of a long weekend, there were displays of contrition.
I accept that I ought to have had greater oversight.
And solidarity.
I have confidence in Minister Clark. He has a big file. I take full responsibility.
A team effort by the government to close this chapter of the Greenbelt scandal while Ontarians are preoccupied with the final days of summer break.
You have Minister Clark come out and apologize. You have the Premier take questions on it. And that hopefully pieces can die. The problem with this is sort of a death by a thousand cuts.
Why didn't you provide more?
With questions unanswered and more Integrity Commissioner's reports, plus the possibility of an RCMP investigation hanging in the balance.
This further indicts the government into the wrongdoing, the special access, and the odor of corruption that continues to surround all of this. And it's going to continue to, I think, dog this government.
An advisor to two past Conservative Ontario premiers says this week could have ended very differently.
I have a great deal of faith in Minister Clark. I've known him for a very long time. I do, however, think that he made the wrong decision yesterday by not stepping down.
For the sake of his personal integrity and the political fortunes of the Progressive Conservatives. Instead, Clark joined the Premier for a meeting with the federal housing minister. Sean Fraser says the Greenbelt question didn't come up, but he's focused on permits to add density rather than sprawl.
More people living close to where the services already exist, close to where amenities already exist, close to where transit already exists.
New Democrats are doing what they can to keep the word Greenbelt top of mind. Attacking ads that debuted last month, trumpeting the government plan to build 1.5 million homes.
It certainly looks as though this government is using public money for a flashy advertising blitz to distract from the fact that they are under investigation for corruption.
The Premier's office stresses all ads are approved by the Auditor General and that the government will keep people informed about how it's fulfilling its housing pledge. Deb Hutton says the government could have helped itself by announcing a process to review the lands that were taken out of the Greenbelt and return ones that aren't really appropriate to build on. The government has said it doesn't intend to revisit that decision. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Siobhan. Toronto police have identified a suspect wanted in connection with a deadly shooting last week in the West End. Last Thursday night, 23-year-old Nakari Henry Robinson walked into a restaurant at Northcliffe and St. Clair Avenue West with a gunshot wound. He was rushed to hospital and didn't survive. A 51-year-old woman was also seriously hurt in the shooting. Police say 26-year-old Ridge Kazumba is wanted on a charge of second-degree murder. He's considered armed and dangerous. If you see him, you're asked to call 911.
One person was killed in a crash this morning in Midtown. It was reported at around 7:15. Police say a vehicle slammed into a pole at Mount Pleasant Road and Rose Park Drive, just north of St. Clair. The driver was rushed to hospital and soon pronounced dead.
And 2 women suffered serious injuries in a fire overnight at a Scarborough home. This happened at around 2:30 in the morning on Homestead Road near Lawrence and Morningside. Toronto Fire says 2 people were able to get out of the house and the fire was put out. A fire investigator will be called in because of the injuries in this incident.
In North York, a gas leak forced a stretch of Yonge Street to be shut down today. A contractor severed a high-pressure gas line shortly after 9:30. It happened just south of Cummer Avenue near Finch Ave. There were no injuries, but a building was temporarily evacuated as a precaution. All lanes were reopened just before 11.
A search is underway for 2 suspects in an Etobicoke break-and-enter and a dog they allegedly took with them. Police say 2 men got inside a house near Islington and Elmhurst Drive yesterday afternoon. They're accused of taking this 4-month-old micro-American bulldog puppy, as well as several pieces of jewelry. They were seen fleeing in a 4-door Hyundai sedan. Anybody with information is asked to contact investigators.
And take a look at this. An OPP officer rescued this kitten off the side of the highway during a traffic stop. Police say the Cambridge officer made a traffic stop and heard a sound coming from the ditch. While he was talking to the driver, the kitten emerged and sat at his feet. The driver was cautioned and the kitten was rescued.
An important story now that affects every Canadian, especially during these tough economic times.
New numbers out today suggest our economy stalled in the second quarter amid ongoing efforts to control inflation. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
Every swing in the economy is felt at this restaurant, where higher food prices have cut into the bottom line and rising interest rates have slowed customer spending.
People where we used to see maybe 3 or 4 times a week, we're not seeing as much because I think maybe their mortgage rates have gone up, their disposable income to come out and eat as much has gone down.
The latest figures show that Canada's gross domestic product shrunk by 0.2% last quarter. It's a sign that 18 months of steady interest rate hikes by the Bank of Canada is cooling the economy.
So we'll hopefully end up with essentially what the Bank of Canada was aiming for, which is to slow consumer spending and be on that path to lower inflation.
But there's also bad news, especially for younger workers. A new Leger poll shows that 47% of Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck. Of that group, 53% are between the ages of 18 to 35.
This is a high number now, and it's not that wages aren't rising a little bit, they are, but they're just failing to keep up to inflation.
To stretch their paychecks, people are making tough choices, deciding where to cut to save, or like this server, finding new sources of revenue.
That used to be me until I got a second job. Then it's better, so I'm not, worried about it too much, but I'm constantly working.
The Bank of Canada's key rate is at 5%. Next Wednesday, the regulator will decide if it will raise, freeze, or what economists say is the least likely scenario, cut rates. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
And from the cost of living to affordable housing to the effects of climate change, there is a lot on the mind of Canadians right now, and the country's politicians are doing everything they can to compete for voters' attention.
And to help guide us through it all, CTV's Question Period and Power Play are set to return for all new seasons.
And we are happy to have CTV News chief political correspondent Vassy Kapellos with us tonight in the studio. This is so fun. Normally you're in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And what a summer it's been for the leaders. What are your big takeaways?
It has been. I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. Look, I think exactly what Judy just spelled out, what you talked about, the state of the economy and more at a more granular level, the cost of living crisis that Canadians from coast to coast to coast are feeling are top of mind for voters, and it's had a real impact on politics as well, right? It's informed the debate, and it's informed public opinion polling. The Conservatives federally, on a national scale, have kind of cemented their lead over the Liberals. It's just a point in time. Things can certainly change. But as long as the cost of living remains front of mind for Canadians, it remains a big political challenge for the feds as well.
And with that, Vassy, affordable housing, that crisis has been a topic for all the parties. Do you expect them to come up with some solutions, or do you think there's going to be more finger pointing?
Well, I'm of two minds here. I mean, this is inherently political. I mean, just look at what's happening in this province right now, right? It's a huge controversy at the provincial level, and that's because housing crosses all jurisdictional boundaries, right? It's a municipal problem, it's a provincial problem, and it is a federal problem. So I think while the blame game will continue, there is pressure because Canadians are feeling this crisis for the government to come up with more. People I speak to around the Prime Minister tell me that they do anticipate putting a new plan on the table at least when the fall economic statement comes out, so probably a few months from now. The big political question is whether they put enough on the table to blunt the criticism levied from the opposition quite successfully with voters right now that they aren't doing enough.
This summer has been horrible for wildfires, the worst season on record in our country. Are you anticipating from the various leaders policy proposals that might address climate change?
I think just like the housing affordability crisis, there's a lot of pressure on the federal government and opposition parties really to tell voters what they're going to do to deal with what we've witnessed this summer. Here in central Canada, the smell, the feel of the smoke. Out west right now, 4,000 British Columbians are still out of their homes because the fires persist there. I think whereas the cost of living is a political vulnerability for the federal Liberals, the climate issue is a vulnerability for the federal Tories. They have yet to put anything specific on the table. You might think opposition, they don't need to at this point, but just because of the immediacy and the acute nature of the fires this summer, I think Canadians will expect something different, something more. And I think the pressure will remain on the Tories and potentially the vulnerability there, too, if they don't come up with something.
And what about the leadership front? You know, Trudeau's had a pretty tough summer, I would say. Poilievre trying to gain some ground, Singh trying to be relevant. Where do you see that going?
You actually encapsulated it perfectly right there, right? I think because of the summer that the Liberals had and where the polls are right now, there are a lot of people in the public asking whether or not Justin Trudeau should remain as Liberal leader. He's adamant that he's going to stick around. Again, I try to ask people around him, is that the case? Is that going to change based on what we're seeing this summer? They say no. Unless the circumstances dramatically were to change, he's going to remain on. He wants to fight Pierre Poilievre. But we're also seeing data from something like Abacus data, which showed us that 1 in 4 people who voted Liberal in the last election don't think he should remain as leader. So that presents a conundrum for them as well, right? It's something that they're going to have to navigate. Campaigns matter, so things can always change. I think for Pierre Poilievre, took off the glasses this summer, right? Seemed to work to a certain degree in the polls, but Canadians are still not too familiar with him. He has some negative polling as well. Jagmeet Singh, always popular in polls, has yet to be able to turn it into electoral success.
Wow. Great to have you here. Great to have you spell it out. And I know you'll be watching all of it closely. We'll be watching you in Ottawa, so we appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard and best of luck.
Appreciate it.
All right. CTV's political affairs program, Power Play with Vassy Kapellos, returns Tuesday, September 5th at 5 p.m. on CTV News Channel and ctvnews.ca.
And we have to mention Canada's most watched political affairs program, Question Period, returns Sunday, September 10th at 11 a.m. on CTV, ctvnews.ca, and CTV News Channel.
With fall just 3 weeks away, more attention is being paid to an expected rise in COVID-19 cases. Health Canada is reviewing applications for new vaccines from Moderna and Pfizer. Both of the shots were developed to target the new strain. But there's no timeline on when they will be approved or available for use. Meanwhile, federal scientists are monitoring global research to determine the effectiveness of updated vaccines against a new Omicron strain. The first case of BA.286 variant was detected in Canada this week.
120 Canada Revenue Agency employees have been shown the door. They were fired for claiming a federal COVID-19 benefit despite being eligible. Those who claimed the $2,000 a month CERB payments must pay them back. In some cases, may be referred to police if any suspected crimes took place. The CRA is investigating an additional 600 cases. Some employees may have been eligible for the payments because they were temporary or on student contracts.
Meanwhile, Ottawa wants Google and Facebook to pay millions of dollars to compensate Canadian media for content. The government unveiled draft rules today for its Online News Act. Federal officials estimate Google would have to offer $172 million and Facebook $62 million in annual compensation. The companies will have to voluntarily negotiate deals with news publishers to pay a portion of their global revenues. If not, they may have to go through mandatory bargaining overseen by the CRTC. Meta is standing firm, saying the proposed regulations will not impact its decision to end news availability in Canada.
There is some encouraging news from BC tonight. 2 wildfires on the east side of Lake Okanagan are now under control, but not the huge blaze in West Kelowna, where evacuation alerts remain. Residents have been told to be ready to leave on short notice because of the McDougall Creek fire. It is one of about 400 active blazes in that province right now. 12 of them are highly visible or pose a threat to public safety.
Serious flood warnings are in effect along coastal areas of Hong Kong tonight. The Iwal typhoon Saola is moving across the territory, posing what authorities call a high threat. 7 people have been injured. The storm is packing winds of 195 kilometers per hour, but they're expected to gradually weaken tomorrow as the typhoon moves west along the coast away from Hong Kong. The storm could also make landfall in China's Guangdong province or just skim across the region.
Pope Francis arrived in Mongolia today, beginning the first ever papal visit there. The pontiff's first engagement is tomorrow when he attends an official welcoming ceremony and addresses government leaders and diplomats. The Pope will also preside over several religious events before leaving on Monday. There are 1,450 Catholics in the overwhelmingly Buddhist country. Back here at home, an effort is underway to save what's believed to be Toronto's oldest building.
Scatting Cabin was built in 1794 and now stands at the west end of the exhibition grounds. But it could be demolished unless significant restoration work is done quickly to save it. It's understandable. A log cabin that's over 200 years old is going to need some work done from time to time. Yeah. The problem here, a rotting foundation log that supports a main wall.
Well, it used to be in the old days we just go out and cut down another log, but now there's much more work that needs to be done. We need to have we've had a structural engineer take a look at it, and we need special contractors to come in and bring a specially cured log.
Scatting Cabin is considered one of Toronto's oldest treasures. It was first built in 1794 by its owner, John Scatting, an early English settler. It originally sat on the west bank of the Don River, but was moved in 1879 to the exhibition grounds. It's now open to the public as a museum, where visitors can feel as though they've gone back in time.
Today we've got a baker who's showing off some of the type of tasty treats that people enjoyed back in the 1700s. We often have people here demonstrating on our spinning machines. Recently we had people from the Toronto Naturalists tagging monarch butterflies in our Pioneer Garden. So there's much to see and do here.
The Pioneer Historical Society owns and operates Scatting Cabin. They're hoping to raise about $60,000 to fix the damage and ultimately preserve an important relic that houses a piece of Toronto's past.
Coming up, the countdown is on. Only a matter of days now until the kids are back in class. But along with the excitement, there's often anxiety. How to address the stress? We talk to the experts just ahead.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, many golfers will be out this long weekend. And if you head to a course, you might notice some new golfing gear. An Ontario company has redesigned the golf bag. What are the differences from a traditional bag? I'll have my reports just ahead.
If you're heading out to the air show this weekend, we have a clear sky pretty much every single day, but it gets hotter and hotter throughout the weekend. So as you plan your activities, make sure you include sunscreen, water, and breaks in the shade. The good news is if you don't love the heat, there is a break on the way. We just have to get through the next 4 to 5 days first. I'll have all those details coming up in your long-range forecast. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
It sure looks like the weather's going to be great this long weekend for outdoor activities, and many golfers already have their tee times booked.
If you golf, you might see a new type of golf bag on the course. It's been designed by an Ontario company. Pat Foran's got the story on Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, the traditional golf bag hasn't changed very much over the years, so a company from Loretto, Ontario took a swing at designing a new one. It's more of a golf tower, and the company is hoping it will be a hit with golfers.
Hey, John, what are you going to score today?
A group of golfers were trying out the new Grit Golf Tower bag for a round. The redesigned bag has a square top and base, a rectangular shape, and a few extras a traditional bag doesn't have.
Your strap fits under the bag, so it doesn't cover any pockets.
It's a protected pocket for my cell phone, which is fantastic.
I like the way it stands up on its own. It doesn't have the stands that spread out and take up so much floor space.
The Grit Golf Tower fits snugly on the back of a golf cart. Greg Collins, the owner of Grit, says the bag has been designed to be more practical and organized. Most of the storage is out front instead of having multiple pockets on all sides of the bag.
This shape here basically is a rectangle. So we started with that footprint, and we started with 2 cubes and built up from that. When you zip open this door, there's shelves in there. Everything's there for you. It's organized.
It's not the first time the company has redesigned a sports bag. 17 years ago, they reinvented how hockey players carry their gear. We did a story in 2006 on the Grit Hockey Tower, a hockey bag on wheels. It has shelves that allow you to organize, store, and dry your equipment in an upright position. More than 500,000 hockey towers have now been sold around the world.
I am indebted forever to CTV for that.
The original prototype for the hockey tower looked like a small freezer.
At the beginning, I wasn't very impressed, but the more I got into it and started putting my own design abilities into it, that's when I fell in love with the idea.
Collins says his company experienced a huge slowdown during the pandemic, and that's why they decided to look into redesigning the golf bag. We showed it to some random golfers and asked their opinion.
We need something different. I like it a lot. I think I would try this one on in the future.
The Grit Golf Tower has a list price of $380. It's not clear yet if it will have the success of the company's hockey bag, but Collins is hoping it will take a slice out of the traditional golf bag market. And the Golf Tower bag has been getting some good reviews from those in the golfing industry. You can find it for sale online and in select sporting goods stores. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, I know it's not over yet, but the summer has kind of flown by, and now here we are embarking on the final long weekend of the summer season, and guess what?
We are in for a warm-up like we haven't seen the entire month of August. You could call it the September sizzle. Beautiful shot on the water today. People luckily getting a ride on a boat. Our Jessica Smith is outdoors this evening to bring you the goods tonight. Jessica.
Michelle, Nathan, it has been the picture-perfect start to the long weekend. A pretty seasonal daytime high after a cool couple of days this week, and it has been beautiful. Lots of sunshine to get things started. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. Now, temperature-wise, we're kicking off the long weekend, as I mentioned, right on par for where we should be with the seasonal average for this time of year, 24 degrees, give or take. But as we head in towards the rest of the weekend, it gets really hot. Taking a look at our lows tonight, not far off the seasonal mark. We lose a little bit of that heat as we head through the evening, but as we step into the beginning of the weekend, we climb above seasonal 27, but it will feel like 32 as we head into the day tomorrow. There's a slight chance of a passing shower, likely early on in the day and to the north end of the city, but if it does happen, very light and brief in nature. Your satellite radar picture really doesn't have a lot going on because of high pressure keeping the sky nice and clear. Very comfortable conditions, but the heat is going to start to rise as we head in towards Sunday. Taking a look at our kind of systems map, any active weather that really rolls through stays far north of us. us, and even into the day tomorrow, more of the same. We'll go through our forecast and radar picture. As I mentioned, there's that slight chance of showers early on, very brief and likely into the north end of the city. And then as we head in towards 6 p.m., nice and clear, lots of sunshine out there as we get ready to step into really the first full week of September. Now, as we get in towards the evening, not a lot going on in the way of any real active weather, but it remains really hot. Our upper air map just goes to show you we're looking at this kind of late summer season surge. Although we began meteorological fall today, we don't really kick off the astronomical start of the season until the 23rd. So just keep that in the back of your head that we aren't done with summer just yet. So these types of heat events aren't all that unusual, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some heat warnings pop up as we head in towards the end of the weekend. Taking a look at the next 7 days, your Sunday is going to be hot. That 31 degrees feels like 38. Yes, get out, enjoy the long weekend, whether you're staying locally here. There's the CNE, you've got the Air Show, Busker Fest, or if you're going up to the cottage, it's going to be hot as well. But plan accordingly. That comes with water, breaks in the shade, and checking in on your vulnerable loved ones. Getting in towards Labor Day, that 32 degrees is going to feel nice and warm as well. So if you're not a fan of the heat or you are sensitive to it, just make sure you're taking some breaks when and where you can. The overnight lows and our daytime highs stay well above seasonal as we head through the majority of the next few days. Getting into Tuesday, some kids heading back to school. It is going to be hot. 32 feeling like 39, maybe even 40. We don't really see a reprieve take place until we get into about Thursday or Friday of next week, but really the humidex values remain very warm. So Michelle and Nathan, if you like the heat, great. If you don't like it so much, there is a bit of a break on the way. We just have to get through to the end of next week first. I'll send things back inside to you.
It's not bad. Thank you, Jessica. Also tonight, more cases of West Nile virus detected in a few more regions. We'll outline where and what to do to protect yourself when embracing the outdoors this long weekend. So with just one long weekend before the start of another school year, are your kids ready?
It's a time filled with excitement and sometimes anxiety as well. Our health reporter Pauline Chan joins us now with some important back-to-school tips. Pauline.
Hi, Michelle. Well, it is a time of great anticipation, and careful preparation is needed by teachers, students, and parents. There's a lot of preparation that goes into the start of a new school year.
Back-to-school shopping, supplies, clothes, shoes, making sure she knows where her new school is, teacher, all that kind of stuff.
And some of that prep can be done right at home by talking with your kids.
A bit nervous. Excited.
It's a transition time. And with transitions, some unknowns, like what's my teacher going to be like? Who is my teacher going to be? Will I have my friends in my class?
Psychologist Todd Cunningham says some kids will be eager to talk about it, but for others, it may help to ask them about their expectations or feelings.
One of the big things is after we kind of hear what they're worried about, we need to kind of help them with problem solving, thinking about ways to actually get ready for that transition or in dealing with any of their worries.
So if not having friends in class is their fear, maybe they can reconnect with some friends from the end of the last school year. Or practice introducing yourself to your new teacher. And Annie Kidder from People for Education says even though things have changed a lot since the start of the pandemic.
So I will say one thing, this is totally not what I'm supposed to say. Make sure your kids have all your shots, because my husband just tested positive for COVID. So just when you think it's gone away, it's still there.
And she encourages parents to remind kids that schools are a great preparation for the careers and life adventures ahead. And it's also a good time for eye exams, dental checkups, and annual physicals. I'm Pauline Chan. Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Pauline. Well, Peel and Niagara regions are each reporting their first confirmed cases of West Nile virus for 2023. This follows lab confirmation of at least 2 human cases in Toronto and a possible case in Oakville. Health officials say most people with West Nile don't get sick, but some can experience flu-like symptoms or more severe issues. They're advising residents to take precautions against mosquito bites, including wearing long sleeves and pants and insect repellent, especially at evening and dawn.
Tens of thousands of high chairs are being recalled across North America because of a safety issue. Health Canada issued the notice to stop using Boone Flair and Flair Elite high chairs immediately. The agency says they pose a fall hazard. It's worth noting the recall only covers chairs manufactured before September 2016. About 2,800 units were sold in Canada. There have been no injuries reported here, but several incidents were registered in the U.S. Customers can contact the manufacturer for a free repair kit.
The team behind The Last of Us says they're ready to shoot the next season of the hit HBO series as soon as the Hollywood strikes are over.
The darkness is falling, the sky has turned gray.
The Last of Us tells the story of what happens after a zombie apocalypse and two survivors' efforts to cross the continent together. Co-creator Neil Druckmann told Entertainment Weekly that the plot of season 2 is already outlined, but it's still not clear when filming will resume.
The latest installment of an action movie franchise is aiming for the top spot at the long weekend box office.
9 seconds. That's what I'll give you to decide your fate.
Denzel Washington returns as professional killer Robert McCall in The Equalizer 3. Variety reports it'll grab $28 to $30 million U.S. over the coming days. Racing drama Gran Turismo will look to add $7 to $9 million, while Barbie could secure the title of this year's highest grossing worldwide release.
We're about to go on a little adventure together, and that adventure is going to span 17 years of music. How does that sound?
And speaking of box office records, Taylor Swift has set one of her own after announcing a new concert film. The Eras Tour will play movie theaters across North America in October. In the U.S., theater chain AMC says the announcement prompted its biggest advance sales day ever on Thursday at $26 million U.S.
Timbaland, Nelly Furtado, and Justin Timberlake are out with a new song, serving up some 2000s nostalgia for fans.
I keep going, I keep going, I keep going.
The song is called Keep Going Up. It's the first time the trio has collaborated since their 2007 track, Give It To Me. But Timbaland has worked several times with Furtado and Timberlake on their own albums. People magazine reports Furtado recorded her vocals remotely, while the other two collaborated in studio.
Stars Tonight is brought to you by Last Man's Bad Boy. Who's better? Nobody.
On the next CP24 Breakfast, Chloe Bailey's in Toronto performing a very special Labor Day show, and she'll be here in our studio to get us caught up on her busy life inside and outside of music. That's on a very special Labor Day edition of CP24 Breakfast, starting at 7 a.m.
Honestly, just enjoying the last bit of summer.
Updating our top stories, believe it or not, we're already at the start of the Labor Day weekend. While many residents are heading out of town for the holiday, several events are taking place in town, including the final few days of the Canadian National Exhibition, the annual air show, and Toronto Busker Fest.
It's about the Premier trying to distract from his government's corruption scandal.
The Ontario NDP are accusing the Ford government of using an ad campaign for its housing plan to distract from ongoing questions over the Greenbelt land swap. This comes after Housing Minister Steve Clark apologized but did not resign over his handling of the matter. The Premier's office says all ads are approved by the Auditor General.
And a developing story tonight. Emergency crews have removed the truck that hit a rail bridge. This is on Sewells, just south of Steeles. You can see the top of the trailer box has been ripped off in that shot earlier. There it is. Engineers have been called in to see if there was any structural damage to the bridge.
And we have more on new GDP figures out today and the expected impact on Canada's economy. BNN Bloomberg's Jacqueline Hansen has those details.
Canada's economy shrank in the second quarter as the Bank of Canada's many rate hikes appeared to have an impact. The economy contracted at an annualized rate of 0.2%. Investment in housing fell, dragged down by a drop in new construction, an industry that's typically known for being interest rate sensitive because of the loans needed to finance the building. Bank of Montreal's chief economist Doug Porter says the broad softening in the economy will keep the Bank of Canada from raising interest rates further at its meeting next week. In fact, he suggests it looks like interest rate hikes are over and done for good. Though Porter says the Bank of Canada will have to wait some time for the slowing economy and demand to also cool inflation. In the U.S., the economy there added slightly more jobs than expected in August, but gains made in previous months were revised lower. Wage gains slowed, and the unemployment rate ticked up to 3.8% as more people looked for work. Some analysts suggest the weak spots in the jobs data could also encourage the U.S. central bank to hold interest rates at its next meeting. And Royal Bank's proposed acquisition of HSBC Canada has cleared a major hurdle. Canada's Competition Bureau says the deal wouldn't substantially lessen competition. The findings have been sent to Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, who will have the final say. The $13.5 billion deal is also still subject to approval by OSFI, Canada's banking regulator. Let's take a look at some of the closing market numbers for today. The Canadian dollar is trading lower about half a cent to 73.5 cents U.S. West Texas Intermediate oil gained almost $2 to trade above $85 U.S. a barrel. And Western Canadian Select gained just over $2 to almost $68 U.S. a barrel. As for stock markets, the TSX jumped 252 points to end the trading week at 20,545.36. That is the latest in business. I'm Jacqueline Hansen of BNN Bloomberg.
It'll still be a few days before customers can return to their regular shopping habits at 27 Metro stores across the GTA. Frontline grocery workers at those stores ratified a new collective agreement yesterday after a month-long strike kept them on the picket lines. The deal included pay raises and new job protections. Metro says it'll welcome employees and customers back to the impacted locations as of Tuesday.
As we reach the unofficial end of summer, some changes are coming to your commute. More than 3 years after they were installed, Metrolinx is removing items like plastic dividers, decals, and hand sanitizer dispensers meant to stop the spread of COVID on vehicles. Over the coming days, new service will be added on several GO trains and GO bus routes. The TTC is also stepping up service on several of its routes, anticipating higher ridership after Labor Day.
The Blue Jays will likely need to string together some wins if they are to climb back into a wild card spot, and they're hoping that starts tonight.
Chopped up the third baseline.
Toronto kicks off a 6-game road trip in Colorado. The Jays are 2.5 games behind Texas for the last wild card spot. Pitcher Chad Green is back from injury. Infielder Spencer Horwitz is also available after being called up.
Canada suffered its first loss at the FIBA Basketball World Cup.
And that will do it as Brazil goes up by 6, 8.1 to go.
It was close, but Canada fell 69-65 to Brazil in second-round action today. 15th-ranked Canada is one of 16 teams to reach the championship bracket, but they are now in a must-win situation. A victory against Spain Sunday is needed to advance to the quarterfinals.
And a new ticket policy could make it harder for Leafs fans to cheer on their team in Buffalo. Find out the details on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
Lots on tap this long weekend. Events abound for all those in the city. Just ahead, we'll outline some of the fun under the sun to help you make the best of the last hurrah before all the routines start.
Tonight, we take a closer look at Canada's expanding energy drink recall.
Not only do these drinks have a lot of caffeine, potentially, they also have a lot of sugar.
The new bans and the health concerns for consumers later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010. Well, many people are heading out of town for the long weekend. As we mentioned, there are a lot of events to enjoy if you are staying in the city.
They include the return of the annual Toronto International Busker Fest. Busker Fest is one of the biggest street performer festivals in the world. It's taking over Woodbine Park over the next few days with promises of something spectacular around every corner. There will be displays including circus artistry, daredevils, comedy, and music, not to mention food and other vendors. What's more, organizers say it's the largest event raising awareness for epilepsy on the planet. Admission is by donation. Toronto Busker Fest runs through Monday evening.
And there's a good chance you've heard or spotted all the aircraft taking over the skies in recent days, preparing for this weekend's Canadian International Air Show. Today was another rehearsal day, but aviation enthusiasts weren't about to miss the chance to take in the sights, including YouTube creator Ernest Gutschik.
The cool thing is I've got a really good camera, and it does very well catching all the action. And a lot of people always love seeing the action. Some people that don't get to see the action enjoy watching it through my lens. So I enjoy bringing that experience over to them.
The Canadian Armed Forces Snowbirds and the U.S. Navy's Blue Angels will be among those showing off their flying skills at the air show. They'll be joined by a mainstay of the event who's taking part for the final time.
I'm the oldest person flying in the show. I'm 81 years old. The airplane is 51 years old, so we're going to show you what old people and old planes can do.
And as he prepares to retire, organizers and participants sang for He's a Jolly Good Fellow for Gord Price. They presented him with some celebratory cupcakes as they all gear up for a weekend full of performances.
And the weather looks like it's going to cooperate beautifully for all those events. Jessica Smith returns for a look at the weather for one last time.
Michelle, Nathan, it feels so hot today just because the last few days have been a little below seasonal, so we're really where we should be for this time of year, but I think some folks kind of thought we already stepped into the beginning of the fall season. Yes, it is meteorological fall today, but we don't really begin the astronomical season until the 23rd. Not a lot in the way of any active weather, and over the next 7 days, we climb into the 30s on Sunday, and we stay there until Wednesday of next week, so keep an eye out for any heat warnings that pop up. If you don't like the heat, it cools down, but really not until the end of next week, so just hold on until then. Hopefully this helps you plan. I'll send things back inside to you guys.
Thank you, Jazz. Well, that's it for us, but be sure to join Vashi Capellos tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Pauline Chan with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
We'll leave you with more images from the air show rehearsals today. So for Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching. Have a great night and a fabulous long weekend. Woo.